Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen. So, due to COVID and a lot of nothing in our lives right now, we were able to get season 2 of Resistance done.
Pretty quick time.
Quickly. Yeah, 19. Are Rebels and Clone Wars seasons or episodes the same length, or are they longer?
Yeah, they're about the same. Like in the
23 minutes.
Yeah, length of episodes. Yeah, they're like the same.
Okay, so that's not bad.
This follows basically
It felt
what
really
Rebels
quick though.
Well, yeah, that's because we watched like 5 episodes, and if you watch 5 episodes a day, you can get through a whole season in a week. So
yeah,
not even a week, in just over half a week.
Yeah, it's so like how do we start this? So where we left off was the main character. So like first off, if you haven't seen this show, probably should go back and check our season 1 review.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the show, leave now. Why are you here?
Well, no. If you haven't seen the show and you want to hear for us talk about things that you don't know about, that's
okay.
Cool.
But I mean,
we don't judge.
For people that
you could just leave a like and be on your way if you want. And subscribe. That'd be great.
Absolutely.
We're trying to hit 75 now
and
before the end of the year.
Positive
50,
things.
and it's so nice.
Yes.
Anywho, but the best way to describe this is we'll just get right into spoiler territory, and that's cool if you still want to stay for it. So where we leave off is at the end of the first chapter or first season. We leave off with
hyperspace.
They go into hyperspace, yes, but it's pretty much right at the end of
The Force Awakens.
Of Force Awakens, timeline wise, it doesn't actually there's not too much intersection other than the destruction of Hosnian Prime, which
the Hux speech.
Yes, Hux speech scene, which is actually a really good scene in the movie.
Yeah, or you mean the show, or the movie, or both?
Both.
Yeah, I think that scene in the movie is probably one of the best. Honestly, top 5 scenes in the sequels for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, but But, and anybody who knows already, episode 8 there's no lead up. It's right away, which is one of the many issues that episode 8 has. But episode 8 takes place right after episode 7.
I don't actually have a problem with that.
What?
With it going right away?
Why?
That's fine. Why not? What's the issue with that?
What the hell's the point of the crawl?
What the hell's the point of the crawl? Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, what the hell? The whole point of the crawl is because it sets up something. What can you put in the crawl that doesn't... the crawl becomes a...
The story... so the movie...
The crawl became a previously on instead of what has happened since.
That's fair.
So shush. Anyway, but we'll talk... We're not here to talk about
fair.
that.
I didn't think of that. I was thinking more of just the movie itself.
But this show, honestly... So... This show pretty much follows the Colossus, which is a giant ship, an old Imperial type base, fueling station.
Yep. Lothal is going through hyperspace.
Yes, it's pretty much like the Lothal of this series. It is pretty much just trying to escape the resurgent series Star Destroyer. I think they call it Resurgence.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Which is led by Commander Pyre. Agent Tierney, and there's Lieutenant Gallic.
I think it was Gallic.
Gallic?
Okay. Yeah, I think it's Gallic.
And Tam and Rooklyn are both pilots, and the pit crew chick that was in Rooklyn's speeder squad. Yep. She doesn't have any lines, but she's there, so bless her heart. Yes, and... It's funny how I'm not gonna really go through this season necessarily as much as just I'll summarize it, but there's a lot of pitfalls here. Long story short, we get to the point where they've actually kind of grouped with the Resistance or a small group of them.
There's a little overlap,
and it pretty much ends up they visit a lot of different worlds, which I will say is probably one of the strengths of this season as opposed to the last one. The scenery changes quite a lot. Which is nice, because especially if you're trying to do a lot of world building. Yep. Which, in something as low risk of a TV show as this, that's probably what you need right now. Yeah. Especially when there's not a lot of proper investment in the show, in that timeline, and that time period as a whole. You need those worlds to know that they're there and talk about what's happening.
Well, especially since, like, if you look at the way the prequels were, there was not as much as investment, but once you add the Clone Wars to that, oh boy.
Yes, it adds a lot.
It adds a lot. And like little smaller stories outside the movies add a lot to the stuff in the movies and to the story as a whole. Like, I read some of the books and it adds a lot in there. Like, it adds a lot to Count Dooku's character. It adds a lot to Qui-Gon Jinn's character. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And that's good to have. Now, I'll get into the pros first before I break down the cons. And honestly, it's a mixed bag on this season.
Can I start with one?
Go off.
Yeah, one thing that I think this season really excels in compared to season 1 is where, because of the amount of different worlds they visit and how they're on the ship as opposed to being on this bright planet, it really tones it down a bit. And it's not just this bright day, sunny sky all the time.
Yeah.
It tones it down because
it doesn't feel like a third grade art class.
Yeah, because a lot of people's issue is with the show, and this is something that I believe is a bit of an issue in the sense of it's an issue until you actually start to watch more of the show. It's more of an issue from when you're viewing it from not actually seeing it.
Yeah, it's very closely associated
it's that,
with
like,
getting
the
into
animation is a big problem for a lot of people because it's very different than Rebels and Clone Wars in that aspect. But you really adjust to it quite quickly in season 1, and season 2 does a very good job at toning it down to making it a lot more comfortable.
It doesn't feel like you're getting a rainbow shoved down your throat, is what we're saying.
Yes.
Now, there's a couple things that I like here. But here's, like, I like that we visit the worlds. Every time, it's funny, the villains in this season are a lot of they are scene stealers. Because for as much as it's called Star Wars Resistance, and I said this to Carter earlier, it really feels like it shouldn't have been called that. And what should have been called that? It probably should have just been called Star Wars Ace Fighters.
I said Star Wars Aces.
Yeah, it's something like that. Like, because for all the thing is that
you don't see much of the resistance.
You don't see a lot of resistance. They show up every now and then, but not a lot.
Yeah. Also, one thing I noticed is that you were telling me after season 1 that you were saying Oscar Isaac didn't voice Poe in season 2. So I was like, oh yeah, well, we'll probably have somebody else. So they actually just decided to not have him in season 2.
But yeah, and it's funny because we don't really know how much this takes over. They do visit the base that gets blown to hell by the First Order at the beginning of Episode 8. Which is one of the few things that I actually am totally okay with Episode 8, is the fact that they blow that base to hell.
Well, one thing that I really like in Star Wars is when they go to places and, like they showed this a little bit, and there's an old wrecked rebel base or something.
There's a link to the past.
When there's a link to the past, and specifically linked to some sort of battle or some sort of conflict. Like, for example, this season, when they go to that planet, what's the name of it? It starts with a D or something like that. Dakar. That's what it was.
Well, Dakar is the place where
the old rebel base was.
No. Dakar is the place where the Resistance base is that gets bombed at the beginning.
That's what I meant. Not rebel base. Resistance.
Eos is the one with the rebel base.
Yeah.
Eos is the one with the
I know. I was talking about that one.
I
accidentally said rebel instead of resistance because they're the same thing.
And there's like a wreckage. There's like the
I love that. And shit, I had a thought in my mind.
What do you think of them? Well.
And yes, it was I like how in the Rise of Skywalker how they visited the wreckage of the Death Star, stuff like that. I like when they when they have old wreckages about some sort of conflict. I really like that. So
there's a few times where they actually make a really good decision, in my opinion, to involve a lot of things that we know about, but doesn't really get talked about as much. For example, there's an episode where they go and visit Hype Phazon, who is a Rodian, his old racetrack. And it is in an asteroid field. And the guy in charge of there is a Hutt. his name is Vranky. It sounds like Frankie, but Vranky the Blue. And this Hutt is a scumbag, and honestly, there's a lot of things that they reuse. They reuse a lot of good things. Like they have those what are those things called that Jabba has? He has a pet one.
Oh yeah, the things
those little monkeys, and he has
turn into the very big ones.
Yes, and that's his security system. Those are his security guards, and I love it.
The tiniest hats.
And they also mention, and he then mentions that that casino that we shall not talk about from The Last Jedi, and that's why he's not having great business. And also, his racers are repurposed vulture droids.
And the coolest thing about these vulture droids is that they're not just vulture droids, and they look like a vulture droids inside a suit.
Yes.
Like they literally took a vulture droid and built a ship around it.
And these vulture droids look terrifying. They look more deadlier than the Clone Wars ones by far.
Oh yeah.
Like they have four
not
separate
even
legs.
Close.
Like and the reveal is done really well in that episode because they're racing, and you know that since we're in the part like the first act that there's going to be some buffoonery happening, but you don't really know where it is. And then all of a sudden, the racer that he's racing just goes, and just turns its head and looks at it, and you're like, oh?
Yeah.
Oh? Like, it's done really well. I would say, it's interesting. I like the episode, how they show that there's, like, aliens that are working for the First Order, like, Nuna? Or Nim? I don't remember her name. It's an earlier episode where she pretty much sabotages the entire ship.
Ninu. That's
Ninu. And it's done really well. We don't see her again, though, which I feel like probably could have been...
so sad.
Yeah, Niku, I really like Niku, but I will have to admit, they needed to move his character along, because he needed to do more here. But also,
there's only one episode where I think they do that, and that's when the pirates do a mutiny.
Yes.
And they show him...
That actually is done really well.
It's a very good episode.
There's so many things to tell you about. First off, they introduce the... So, I don't remember his name. It starts probably with a C, I think. It's like Conveyor or some crap like that. He's the red dude from The Force Awakens that Finn asks to, like... go on a ship with and leave.
Yeah,
and he changes his mind after it. Yeah, in Mos Canadas. That guy turns out to be an arms dealer who gives Kragan, who is a great middle-of-the-road villain. Like, I like to mean he's a very good small-scale villain.
He's kind of similar in a way to a bit of, like...
he's a pirate.
Well, he's similar. Yeah, exactly. Which he's very similar to Hondo in the way that he's used, not in the way he acts.
No.
In the way he talks, but the way he's used and how he's sometimes a bit more of a villain, sometimes he's with you, and then sometimes he's in that gray area between.
Yes, it's good that you have a guy there. Granted, his plot can only go so far, and they do pretty much kick him off the ship after they fail the mutiny. But what the arms dealer gives them is old B2 battle droids, but like super battle droids, and one B1 droid. And my God, did they use those things perfectly. You will believe that this B1 battle droid is a legit... Like, the B1 battle droid stole 2 full episodes, and it was barely involved in the second one. Yep. Matthew Wood is obviously having the time of his life, just using any type of fun dialogue he can.
Yeah.
It pairs with Niku, and the best thing they do is... where they usually have the super battle droids in charge, they do a full 360 at the end where the B1 droid is the commander of security, which is just an amazing decision. Also, yes. And the animation for those droids look great. Like, it actually shows...
They look exactly like the Clone Wars ones.
Like, they look really good.
They look right... They look like the
They don't look exactly like the Clone Wars ones just because of artistic design, but they look really like battle droids. Like, you can totally
No, but I mean, like, the shaping of the super battle droid is way more like the Clone Wars one than it is, like, in the movie or The Mandalorian, where it's slightly proportional.
It's done really well. Yeah. I'll say this. Every time the First Order shows up, like... Also, well, actually, before we get to that... the bounty hunter that they have, I think his name is Axe. Really good character. Like, his design is cool.
And one thing we didn't realize is we thought the horns were
just his helmet. Like, he was like
actually,
one of those Legend of Zelda helmets.
Yes, but he's actually the same species as Jedi Master Sesei Tin. So
yeah, isn't he the Jedi that dies in like 3 seconds against Palpatine?
Yes.
Because he's one of...
He's the one that goes, and he's got the lightsaber right above... Yeah,
and then there's one that survives and gets hunted by the Inquisitors on Mon Cala. Remember? Because he's got the one horn off? I've seen it in the fandom on the things. It's the orange one that's like smiling. He's like, ah.
I'd have to look at it.
You'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. But no, there's certain like episodes dedicated to certain pilots, and they all work pretty well. The kids show up once, and it's funny because we're not going to get too much into this because I want to focus on the positives before we get into the negatives. All I'll say about that episode right now is this. I really was a fan of the fact that they have a division called the First Order Raiders. That's like the occult. That's a great ad. And it's something that really, especially ties in together with a lot of things we're seeing now with Moff Gideon.
Yes. And one thing, well, yes and no. One thing that I really like about that is I don't remember them being any Imperial Raiders, per se. I mean, there probably are, but,
They had science divisions that were for different things.
Yes, but it seems like that's something that's a little bit exclusive to the First Order, at least at this point in time, to a certain extent, which I think is good to at least have some differences between it and the Empire.
I think the closest you get to that is the Purge Troopers, but those are not necessarily looking for artifacts.
Yeah, but they're completely different. Like they're
not hunting for locations.
Their design in terms of their armor is not even close to similar.
Oh, no. I just meant in their motives.
No, they're not similar.
Would you compare it to a lot of the decisions like in Fallen Order, the mining of Zepho and stuff like that? Like how they're trying to find artifacts like that.
Yeah, but they don't have any trooper division dedicated to something like that. Which is one thing that I do like. And I think it's good to have some differences. Yeah, some differences from the past. So, especially at that point in time, because it's the sequels to Star Wars. So there's been a lot of stuff that's happened before. So having them going like relic hunting and stuff like that about stuff that connects it to the past, because I mean that's what they have to do with anything sequel based. They have to find ways to connect it to the past, because that's the only way you're gonna get the fan base behind it, because the fan base is not exactly in your favor when it comes to the sequel trilogy and the sequel timeline as a whole.
And I think this is almost going to end the positive section of this. But I will say this is the way they're doing, not Imperial, the First Orders that we see are interesting to watch. Like, I legitimately enjoy watching Commander Pyre. I like the dichotomy between Pyre and Tierney, because Pyre's a guy who definitely uses his blaster to get out of problems, while Tierney is a lot more of a diplomat when discussing things. Adding to that, the character designs they have for certain officers is just a cool addition, and I'm always a fan of those things because...
Oh, that stuff drives you crazy.
Well, it's really nice to see, though, because when you have guys that have those standout things, it's like, these are not just troopers.
They're important.
They have importance in this army.
Yeah.
And the Lieutenant Gallic?
Gallic.
Whose name barely comes up, but her design is really cool. She has a black suit, black and red paladin, and a sick helmet.
Black and red pauldron.
Yeah, pauldron. Sorry.
Pauldron, yeah.
But no, like when we see stuff like that, it's really good. Now, do you want to move into the cons? So here's one of the problems that I have. Actually, no. One last thing that's really good. They destroy the hell out of Eos. The First Order
that's perfect.
Ruins Eos in the finale.
And one of the things
and
that we were
once
really
again,
worried about
I was hyped for that because I was
one of the issues we have to an extent, and then this will just kind of tie the pros into the cons in a sense, going into the cons, is that one of the cons that we had is that the First Order didn't seem threatening enough, in the sense of like, oh yeah, they're really threatening, but they haven't actually beaten you.
No, and not a single casualties on that.
Yeah,
there's no casualties.
No
and
casualties.
that's a That's bad.
That's a big problem.
That's a problem when you're going up against a Star Destroyer with numerous, like, limitless amounts of TIE fighters.
Even if they plan to make this 4 or 5 seasons long, we gotta see one person drop at least.
Now, as far as we know, we should know that we are aware, as far as we know, that there is no Season 3 plans. Which this was the end. Which I think is a shame, because I feel like there's a lot you could actually improve here if you took...
And I feel like it needs a proper wrap-up. Even if, like, let's say they don't have a plan for season 3, but I think a season 3 is necessary, but it basically just kind of say, like, all right, we're going to do one more and we're going to call it quits.
Yes.
Because I think if you're going to call it quits, you at least have to wrap it up.
Yeah, there's a couple things that we can learn.
And there's tons of loose ends.
Now, like, everyone is safe, and this is annoying, because,
way too much immunity.
I'm going to be honest here, the entire series, and it undoes a lot of the opportunities that it created earlier. Like, Tam goes back to good, which I'm okay with.
I saw it coming.
I
told you it was going to happen.
I wanted to believe they were going to keep it.
I know.
Rooklyn doesn't, but Rooklyn, Pyre...
Tierney.
Okay, so Rooklyn and Pyre die off screen when the Star Destroyer blows up.
And
Tierney dies off screen, technically. Now, this is the thing that bugs the hell out of me, because I've never looked at a scene so much and been able to tell the moment Disney stepped in on a decision. The moment Kylo Ren chokes out Tierney. Also, Kylo Ren, in the 2 scenes he gets, his voice sounds a little weird, but my God, are those two good scenes. Where he threatens to make them shoot themselves in the head via hologram, and then chokes out Tierney. But we cut away before he chokes Tierney. And call me a sadist, but I wanted to see him choke the hell. I wanted Tierney to hit the floor. Yeah. I don't need to hear the crack and stuff like that, but we should see the back of her body hit the floor.
Like, even if you cut to another
Star Wars is still Star Wars
but
here.
even if you cut to a shot of Pyre doing something else, if you just have her, like, fall to the ground in the background, or, like, even if you have, like, say you have the camera right here, and Pyre's in the... Pyre's, like,
we'll
the
just
main
have a shot on
focus,
the floor, and then her body
just,
hit the
even
floor.
on the side of the camera, just have this person drop.
Yeah.
You know what happened.
Yes, I don't like when they make us allude to things like that, because that was one of your main villains that you introduced to the finale of Season 1, and then a solid villain in Season 2, however, a little flawed.
Yeah.
But, like, so, we didn't like the Sith Temple. The Sith Temple, good idea, bad execution.
Very bad execution.
It wasn't well done.
The problem with the Sith Temple is, now... I don't know. Have you watched that whole?
I haven't seen the whole episode.
In
Rebels. I've seen bits and pieces
Rebels,
of it because it's like legendary.
In Rebels, it is fantastic. In Rebels, it goes all the way back to the Old Republic, to the Scourge of Malachor. Malachor 4, I think.
Thought it was 5.
Malachor 5. Yeah, that's what it was. Malachor 4 was a different thing in the Old Republic. Anyways. But the point was that Revan had did the sort of thing to build a super weapon.
Anyway.
Blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
But anyways, the thing that was so great about that temple is that it had a purpose. That was one thing that was great about it.
Yeah.
The way you get through doorway, the way you get around in the temple is by using the dark side or a Sith holocron.
Now, you see, they had to ignore that because they didn't have any Force wielders in that
Yeah,
show.
but they could have done some sort of thing with some
They
sort
could
of
have had that
holocron.
woman. They could have had that woman be a Force wielder.
Well, you know,
or not
you-
a full forced one.
You know what they could have. You know what they could have done. Now, actually, they couldn't have done this because the Rise of Skywalker wasn't out yet. But you could have had maybe a Sith Wayfinder, and then it ends up being somehow in that thing. And
although
then Kylo
those
Ren
things,
grabs it, but-
let's be honest here. This was out before Rise of Skywalker. I don't think any of us could have predicted the way Rise of Skywalker decided to make creative decisions.
Oh yes,
it's an okay Star Wars movie, but my God, are some of those decisions make you just want to be like, well, this one needed to go through another room of the writer's room, please. like it's funny. Like I don't like when, like, the second I see the certain people go into action, especially on the bad side.
Yeah.
I know that this is the end of their story because they're gonna die, and it's frustrating because. Okay, so let's like, here's the thing that
Gotta hurry this up a little.
the few things that was good about The Force Awakens is that it at first it showed a more violent Empire an empire that didn't have that class and that elegance that the Imperials did. Because the Imperials are a lot like, they have those old British Shakespearean type actors, right?
Yeah,
and they add that eloquence and stuff to it.
They'd be more like, oh yeah, let's get these people in work camps. We're gonna work them. But the First Order is like, just kill them.
Yes.
Just kill them.
But we didn't see that. There's one scene where we see that, and I was so happy to see that.
And it's when they're bombarding the living shit out of the planet.
We don't see the people die. And honestly, I don't care. But I know they're dead because I can see a red blob right on their planet.
You can see, like, an orbital bombardment. And I love how it wasn't just one Star Destroyer.
No!
It is a fleet of
9 Star Destroyers come out of hyperspace. You see the one, you're like, oh, okay, all right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I don't even think they had that many Star Destroyers going up against the Resistance.
And it's so frustrating to me because you show us these great things, these great visuals, but you don't go back to them enough times. And yes, I understand that going back to certain things too many times means they're not as special. But guess what? You need to somehow understand, like, you need to rationalize how one Star Destroyer, time after time after time, literally every episode or every second or third episode, that Star Destroyer will get to them. And then they'll just hyperspace away and like light speed away. And it's like, what was the point of that? Send in more than one.
Also, especially since in The Last Jedi, they make a point of they can track us through hyperspace.
Okay, well, I'm going to give that one a pass and say that it was only on that one ship, okay? Because do you want that on every ship? No, you don't.
No, but then
certain people should escape through hyperspace, but it shouldn't be all the time.
I know, and I won't give you that argument, but at the same time, this is in the timeline that is the plot of Episode 8. We can't escape because they can track us. So if you're going to have something that takes place in the exact same time as
well, it's a little past it, because Episode 8 doesn't take that long. Are you going to say that all 19 episodes took place in those, 3 days?
No, but I am not making that argument.
Okay.
The argument I'm making is that they should at least have some sort of mention of that.
Okay.
Some sort of mention.
It's interesting, because so let's just, and that's... and honestly, that might not sound like we're getting on it a lot, but those things are big problems there. Because I knew that certain characters weren't going to die. I thought, though, that they would make the choice to kill Tora's mother when she showed up.
Yep.
And instead, Tora's mother just eviscerated the TIE fighter, teacher. And I was like, oh, damn, okay, cool move, but... she literally hit her the same way that, who was it, Poe, or was it Kaz that kills Von Reg? Because Kaz says it was Poe, but I thought it was Kaz.
It was Kaz.
Yeah, she kills her pretty much the same way that Kaz kills Von Reg.
No, he said it, I think he said it once to, avoid...
Yeah, probably.
Avoid saying,
but
oh yeah, I'm
that
part of the
means that
resistance.
Von Reg's death is better than that one, because at least it had to fly through the ship.
Yeah.
Von Reg is missed in this season, I must say.
Yeah.
You really could have used a TIE fighter ace.
Especially,
those TIE fighters looked absolute garbage.
Especially since, this season was a hell of a lot more focused on space combat than the first season.
Yes.
And especially when you're talking about a character like Tam, who she's gonna get trained. They brought in Gallic, but Gallic just doesn't have what...
She doesn't have enough time.
She doesn't have enough time, and she doesn't have what Von Reg had.
Brooklyn is very... Brooklyn gets lost in the shuffle there.
Brooklyn's actually...
Brooklyn's solid. I like Brooklyn,
He's solid?
But here's the thing. I don't like that they screwed the hell out of Brooklyn's character in the finale.
Yeah.
The fact that Brooklyn gets looped into being thought of as a traitor, and those Executor Stormtroopers, funny, those Executor Stormtroopers showing up was great, but also illustrated what the problem is with those Executor Stormtroopers, is that they don't have guns. So when someone with a gun showed up, they just like, idiots!
Yeah.
Hosting your dumb space javelins. Get out of here.
I wanted to see an Executioner kill somebody.
Yes.
Somebody.
And
I don't care.
Pyre and Brooklyn die off screen because they're both on the Star Server. I assume if they had a season 3, those two come back.
Especially since you got to remember, Pirate when he's trapped when he gets like knocked out or
he's
whatever.
literally
He's
in
in
a
a hangar
and he gets up.
There's ships
he calls
everywhere.
Like, and Brooklyn gets knocked out early in the episode, so we can assume he probably might have been able to get out early. Yeah, we will. But like honestly, if I'm looking like the only way that if this gets a season 3, you need to have
somebody's gotta die.
You know what you need to have?
What?
You need to have the Final Order troopers show up, and that's their new commanders. Like,
Red Star Destroyer?
I wouldn't hate that. If there was one Red Star Destroyer, I wouldn't hate that.
Von Rig got a Star Destroyer, and it's full of Sith troopers.
But like,
I know.
Commander Pyre and Rooklyn,
Golden Star.
They both had to escape off the. Let's shut up. They both had to escape off the Star Destroyer. We'll just pretend, okay? Pyre and Rooklyn. Okay. They need an army now because now they're out for revenge, and some people have to die. The fact that all of those freaking fighter pilots made it out alive annoys the hell out of me.
Here's my theory. What if you theoretically had them in... You remember Kijimi in The Rise of Skywalker? And that Sith Star Destroyer that...
God, I can't even remember that really well. It doesn't... Honestly,
it destroys Kijimi, remember?
Okay, but think about it. All the planets that get destroyed, it's losing its goddamn luster. Blowing up a planet ain't what it used to be.
I know.
Kijimi's the least remembered planet that blew up.
That's why they blew it up.
Like, I don't care about Kijimi. I barely care about Hosnian Prime.
Yeah.
It looks like Diet Coruscant from the one scene I saw.
I feel like Hosnian Prime would be a lot... Like, the problem with the New Republic is they haven't actually done nearly enough world building on the actual worlds. No. Because the head of the New Republic is not Coruscant. It's not.
Yeah, it should have been.
It should have been.
It really should have been.
But it wasn't.
Coruscant is the capital.
It was Mon Mothma's home world.
Yeah, you really shouldn't have. Honestly, if I like in, and we're kind of looking at the series looking back. This series had a lot of problems, but a lot of it was given to them firsthand by the movies they had to work around. That being said, there are moments where this show genuinely feels really good. The finale is actually solid.
The season 1 finale was better.
The season 1 finale is better, but the season 2 finale is pretty solid.
Hux was pretty good in his one episode.
Hux and every time we've seen Hux, he was great. They used a different voice actor, but I believe that was Hux 100%. I can totally see it.
Same character.
Hux is a raging asshole, and it shows, and it's really well done. I think Phasma shows up for a little bit, but Phasma would have died really early in this series because she dies in Last Jedi.
And it's good that they didn't show her really in season 2 because 2 things. Number 1, she'll be dead. She'll be dead, and number 2, they did not have Gwendolyn Christie. So.
Yeah, no. Overall, I think if you're a diehard Star Wars fan, you honestly should watch it because it is still Star Wars canon. You can hate it, but it's Star Wars canon.
At least once.
There's always something to get out of it, which is actually pretty enjoyable. For us, it was a lot of things that we could see a lot of interesting character designs, villain designs, bounty hunter designs, and just a lot of world building that could really lay the groundwork if they ever decided to do like a video game around this time period. That could have laid the groundwork for a lot of it. But in terms of the very high bar that is set by a lot of the other animated projects, I would say this definitely falls below that bar. Yeah. It does the best with what it can, but at the end of the day, this is definitely a sequel show.
Yep.
And it shows. So yeah, that's our review. So what we're doing is we're going to work backwards. We're not going to watch Clone Wars because both of us have seen Clone Wars.
Well, we will eventually.
And what we're planning on doing is we want to kind of leave it till the end because we know it's the best. We know it's the best. We don't know how we're going to organize the videos because we're not sure if we want to do seasons or if we want to do arcs, but some arcs are one episode, so it's kind of we're still debating that.
Well, you know what might be a good idea is if we do arcs and then afterwards we do a season review that talks.
Do you want to do certain arcs, like certain parts? We can talk about this after.
Well, basically,
we should talk about this after. We should talk about this after.
Yeah.
We're at 35.
Yeah.
But no, but we're gonna do Rebels next because I've actually missed a lot of Rebels.
I've seen it all.
Yes,
but
I haven't seen all of it. I know the main highlights,
and it's very important.
And yeah, if you got this far, once again, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. We are up to just past 50 subscribers as of right now, I believe.
53?
Yes, but I didn't want to say exactly just in case.
Well, it's subject to change.
We are hoping actually nowadays, we're hoping now, since we were able to actually hit 50 subscribers, that we can maybe get 75 subscribers by the end of the year.
75? Oh, we said
75.
65.
75 or maybe 100. But you know what? I'm just going to start small.
Oh, boy.
We're going to start small. The Mandalorian videos have gotten a lot of views nowadays, and we're really happy about that.
And if you haven't checked it out,
yes,
please
go
do.
check them all out. Leave
what are you
some
doing?
likes, leave some comments.
Check it out.
Yeah, the
now.
Mandalorian is
the most relevant point of Star Wars at this point in time.
And it's very critical acclaim.
Yes.
As well as go check out our hockey podcast. If you don't know what hockey is, then this will be a fun time to learn.
Then pick up a stick and get skating.
Yeah, but once again, thanks for watching. And also be sure to follow us on Instagram at Nolan Hockey Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.
And like.
Yes, and like. Well, I said that like
and
twice.
And watch every video.
Yeah. If you have time.